Thank you, Acting Speaker, and I am very happy to stand and speak to the Road Safety and Port Legislation Amendment Bill of 2026. And I'm happy to be speaking after the member for Hawthorn, who I'm sorry to hear about his daughter. I think that's a shame. It does happen, but pretty much everything else he said I certainly disagree with. But anyway, we get the opportunity to speak, and we get the opportunity to put what we believe forward, and we get the opportunity to disagree completely with others in this place. So I'm pleased to rise and support this bill. This is a practical, important piece of legislation that reflects exactly what Victorians expect from their government. Action on the things that matter most. Keeping people safe on roads, getting freight moving efficiently, supporting our emergency services and making sure the rules and systems that operate our transport network are as strong and modern as the roads themselves. Now, before I speak to the measures in this bill, I just want to set a scene a little. We are a government that is investing in Victoria's transport network at historic scale. Through the Victorian budget of 26-27, we are committing a record of over $1 billion to build, repair and resurface roads across the state, the largest roads maintenance blitz in Victoria's history. I just note also we spent just under $1 billion last year, and I believe a similar amount the year before. We are investing $102.6 million in vital road projects to improve safety and reduce congestion. And we're currently delivering real cost of living relief to everyday Victorians by cutting vehicle registration by 20% as a rebate. That is money back in the pockets of families, tradies, small business owners and commuters right across the state. Now, this bill sits alongside those investments. It ensures that the laws governing our transport system keeps pace with the scale of what we are building. Because it is not enough to simply pour money into roads if the rules, responsibilities and enforcement mechanisms that govern how those roads are used are not up to scratch. Let me first turn to the road safety measures. Every year in Victoria, speeding contributes to at least 30% of road fatalities and a quarter of serious injuries sustained by occupants of light vehicles. That is not a statistic to be glossed over. Behind every one of those numbers is a family that has lost someone, a community that has been shaken and a life that has been changed forever. And this government takes that seriously, which is why we continue to support smarter and stronger enforcement on our roads. I might just also say it affects families, but it also affects first responders in some very deep and traumatic ways. So better responsibility with roads is also about helping our first responders not have to deal with some of the things that they see and deal with. Point-to-point average speed enforcement has already proven to be an effective tool in encouraging safer driver behaviour. The concept is pretty straightforward. Rather than catching a driver speeding at a single point in time, average speed enforcement measures how fast a vehicle has travelled across an entire stretch of road between two detection points. It removes the incentive to speed between cameras and it encourages consistent, responsible driving across a whole journey rather than just one moment. And it works because I make sure I stick to the speed limit between all of the cameras on the Hume Highway. Currently, there is a gap in how this works. Average speed enforcement can only be applied where a single speed limit applies across the entire stretch of road between two detection points. That means that on roads where the speed limit changes, perhaps dropping through a town or a roadworks zone before going back up, average speed enforcement cannot be used. This bill fixes that. It introduces new formulas for calculating both the average speed limit across multiple speed zones and the average speed of a vehicle travelling between those detection points. If a driver's calculated average speed exceeds the calculated average speed limit, they will face graduated penalties equivalent to existing speed offences. Did we follow that? It works. This is a sensible targeted reform. It does not create new bureaucracy or impose unreasonable burdens on law-abiding drivers. It simply closes a gap that has prevented enforcement on some of our most high-risk, high-speed roads. And it does so fairly because Temporary speed limits, such as those applied for roadworks, will be disregarded in calculating average speed, with those temporary limits continuing to be enforced through existing methods, such as speed cameras. That is a balanced approach, and it will save lives. I also want to touch on something that doesn't always get mentioned in debates like this, and that is the cost of living angle of road safety reform. When we talk about reducing road fatalities and serious injuries, we're also talking about reducing the enormous financial costs that flow from those tragedies. The cost of serious road accident in terms of hospital care, rehabilitation, lost productivity and long-term support is staggering. Preventing even a small number of those accidents through smarter enforcement represents a significant saving, not just to government, but to families and communities. Road safety is a cost of living issue, and this bill treats it as one. And I would go back again and thank our first responders, AMBOs and fireys, police, SES, CFA, because the cost to them to turn up to a road trauma or road accident is huge, and it's something that they have to live with. And I would prefer that they don't have to go through those experiences. So bills like this to minimise road trauma is not just about a cost benefit, it is, but it's also about the mental health and well-being of everyone concerned, but especially our first responders. On the 20% vehicle registration rebate, I want to spend a moment on this because it deserves more attention than it sometimes gets. For many Victorians, the family car is not a luxury. It's how they get to work, drop their kids off at school, visit their parents and get to medical appointments. The cost of running a vehicle includes registration, insurance, fuel and maintenance is a real pressure on household budgets across the state. Cutting registration by 20% or getting a rebate from it is not a minor administrative tweak. It is real money returned directly to Victorians at a time when it is needed. And it sits alongside a government that is also investing record amounts in repairing and maintaining the roads, as I said previously. Some of the comments I'm getting on my Facebook around the rebate is the time to actually claim the rebate is between the 1st of June to the 31st of July. The rebate is not based on registering your car in those 2 months, where there seems to be some confusion. If you register a car or a vehicle, it doesn't matter when you register it, you can get the rebate. You just need to apply for that rebate between the 1st of June and the 31st of July. On the freight and ports reforms, these are the kinds of changes that do not always make headlines, but that quietly keep the economy ticking. Victoria is the freight and logistics centre of Australia. The Port of Melbourne is the country's largest container point, and the efficiency of our freight supply chain has a direct bearing on the cost of goods and the competitiveness of Victorian businesses and the livelihood of workers across the supply chain. The measures in this bill to improve data sharing between government and industry, requiring stevedoring businesses to collect and share information on truck activity and requiring cargo vessel owners to supply container shipping information, will help drive real efficiencies through the supply chain. When containers move more smoothly and activity is better managed, costs come down. And when costs come down on freight and logistics, that flows through to businesses, small businesses, mum and dad businesses, and ultimately to consumers. And this is a real cost of living benefit. The emergency services exemption from heavy vehicle national law fatigue management requirements are another measure worth highlighting because they speak to the kind of practical, no-nonsense governance this government is committed to. Our emergency services, including our volunteers, do extraordinary work under extraordinary circumstances. The existing exemptions from certain fatigue management record-keeping requirements have been provided through time-limited notices requiring ongoing renewal and creating unnecessary certainty. Making those exemptions permanent removes a burden from volunteers and provides lasting clarity. There's quite a bit more that could be said about this bill. I do believe the budget today was fantastic for roads, road safety, and the work that the Labor government is doing is exemplary. As I said, the member for Hawthorn kind of disagreed with any positivities in terms of what this bill, even though they're going to support it, what this bill does. I'm very proud to be here and talk about it. I acknowledge our emergency services people for the fantastic work they do, and I thank them, and I commend the bill to the House.